Hello there, and welcome to the Nexx Theory channel. I'm so glad you found your way here today. In this space, we journey far beyond the noise of the everyday world and into the quiet mysteries of the universe itself. Tonight, I'll take you deep into the Milky Way, a vast river of stars that has watched countless worlds rise, change, and drift onward. As we travel together through space and time, you may find questions unfolding, wonder growing, and thoughts slowing, as if the universe itself is whispering its secrets just for you. Stay with me. The journey is only beginning. Have you ever found yourself wondering, in the stillness of a late night, when the world finally seems to move on without you, whether somewhere far beyond this familiar sky, there exists another place where awareness continues, quietly and naturally, as if life itself simply changes scenery rather than ending? And as your thoughts drift upward, have you ever felt that strange pull toward the Milky Way, that pale, sweeping band of light stretching across the darkness, and asked yourself whether it is only stars you are seeing, or something more patient and enduring, something that has watched countless lives begin, unfold, and gently fade without ever losing a single trace of them? When you look at that glowing river in the sky, do you ever feel as though it is not distant at all, but deeply connected to you, as if every thought you have ever had, every memory you have carried exists within its vast boundaries, moving along with the slow turning of the galaxy itself? And what if the feeling that time is moving faster now, that the world changes before you can fully recognize it, is not a sign that life is leaving you behind, but evidence that you are becoming aware of something larger, something that has always been moving at its own steady pace, long before the first human ever looked up and wondered what comes next? Consider this. The Milky Way is not a small place, not even remotely so. It is a vast spiral of light and gravity, nearly 100,000 light years across, containing hundreds of billions of stars. And around many of those stars, planets quietly circle, some perhaps rocky and warm, some covered in ice, some bathed in gentle twilight, and some possibly hosting forms of life that wake each day under skies entirely different from ours, yet feel the same curiosity, the same unspoken question about whether existence ends or simply continues in another form. And if life can arise again and again within this galaxy, shaped by different suns and different chemistries, then what does that say about the nature of consciousness itself? Could it be something that belongs not just to bodies, but to the universe as a whole, appearing wherever conditions allow, like a familiar melody played on countless instruments across cosmic time? Have you ever noticed how the Milky Way seems to appear most clearly when artificial lights fade, when cities quiet down, and the distractions of the day finally release their grip, as if this galaxy has been waiting patiently for your attention, not demanding it, not insisting, but simply revealing itself when you are ready to notice? And in those moments, when the sky feels deeper and the silence feels fuller, do you ever sense a gentle mixture of comfort and unease? Comfort in knowing that something so vast exists beyond daily concerns, and unease in realizing how small one lifetime truly is within such an enormous structure. Yet what if that smallness is not something to fear, but something that frees you, because it means that no single moment has to carry all the weight of meaning, no single ending has to define the whole story. As the Milky Way slowly sweeps across the sky from horizon to horizon, it carries with it the light of stars that may no longer exist, stars that burned brightly millions or even billions of years ago and then quietly faded, their light still traveling through space long after their physical forms have changed. When you see that glow, you are not seeing the present alone, but a layered history of the galaxy itself, a reminder that nothing truly disappears all at once. It lingers, it travels, it continues in ways that are not immediately visible. And if starlight can outlive the stars that created it, then what might that suggest about thoughts, experiences, and awareness? Could they too leave traces that persist long after the moment that first brought them into being? Have you ever wondered whether the Milky Way holds places where time feels different, where the passage from one phase of existence to another is not marked by urgency or loss, but by gradual transformation, like a star swelling into a red giant or gently shedding its outer layers into space, enriching the galaxy with the very elements needed to form new worlds? Because the atoms in your body were not created on Earth at all. They were forged in ancient stars within this very galaxy, scattered across space by cosmic events so old that even the Milky Way was younger then. And if the matter that makes you was once part of other stars, moving through other forms, then perhaps movement itself, change itself, is the most natural state of being, not something to resist, not something to fear. When people speak of feeling left behind, of watching others move on while they remain, what if that feeling is simply a mismatch between human timescales and cosmic ones? Stars do not rush, galaxies do not hurry, and the Milky Way itself takes more than 200 million years to complete a single rotation, carrying our sun along with it like a quiet passenger on an unimaginably slow journey around the galactic center. You have lived through only a tiny fraction of that journey, and yet every moment of your life has occurred within it, safely embedded in its steady motion. And what if there are worlds elsewhere in this galaxy where beings measure time differently, where a life feels longer or shorter, where endings are not mourned as finalities, but recognized as transitions into something equally real, equally meaningful? As your thoughts drift across the Milky Way's spiral arms, imagine how many nights like this have existed before, how many minds have gazed upward with similar questions, wondering about life elsewhere, wondering whether awareness continues beyond familiar boundaries, wondering whether they mattered in a universe so vast. Those minds are gone now, and yet their atoms remain. Their influence remains. Their very questions have shaped the path of knowledge and curiosity that leads directly to this moment, to you, quietly listening and wondering in your own way. Does that truly feel like disappearance, or does it feel more like diffusion, like becoming part of something larger and more enduring than any single lifetime? What if the Milky Way is not indifferent to life at all, but simply operates on a scale so vast that care looks different, slower, less dramatic? After all, this galaxy has spent billions of years forming stars, nurturing planetary systems, recycling matter through supernovae and nebulae, patiently creating the conditions for life to emerge again and again. And if patience is a form of care, then the Milky Way may be one of the most patient structures in existence, offering endless time and space for experiences to unfold without ever demanding speed or productivity. Have you ever considered that somewhere within this galaxy, perhaps on a planet orbiting a dim red star, there may be a being looking up at its own night sky, seeing its own version of a glowing band of light, and asking the same questions you are now asking about whether life exists elsewhere, about whether awareness ends, about whether those who came before are truly gone. And if those questions arise independently across the Milky Way, does that not suggest that curiosity itself is woven into the fabric of the universe, emerging wherever consciousness appears, linking distant worlds through shared wonder rather than physical contact? As the Milky Way continues its slow sweep overhead, notice how it does not offer answers quickly or clearly. It invites reflection instead, a kind of thinking that does not rush toward conclusions, but allows ideas to coexist: fear and comfort, excitement and uncertainty, smallness and significance. And perhaps that is its quiet lesson, that it is possible to hold questions without resolving them, to exist within mystery without anxiety, to trust that not knowing everything does not mean nothing matters, because the galaxy itself does not know its own future in any detailed way. It simply continues, shaped by gravity, time, and chance, adapting as it goes. What if the idea of other worlds is not meant to make us feel isolated, but connected to a larger story in which no single place holds all meaning and no single moment marks a definitive end? When the Milky Way eventually changes, when its stars age and its structure slowly evolves, it will not vanish suddenly. It will transform, merge, adapt, just as it has always done. And if transformation is the rule for galaxies, stars, and planets, why should it be any different for life and awareness? As you continue to sit with these thoughts, allow the Milky Way to remain not as a problem to solve, but as a presence to experience, a vast, quiet companion in the night sky, reminding you that existence is far larger, slower, and more patient than daily life often suggests. Let the idea settle that movement does not mean abandonment, that change does not mean erasure, and that the universe has been carrying countless stories simultaneously without ever losing its capacity to create new ones. And perhaps somewhere within that glowing sweep of stars, there is room for every story to continue in some form, even if that form is wider, quieter, and more mysterious than anything we can currently imagine. Now let these questions linger without pressure, like starlight traveling across the galaxy, taking its time, arriving not all at once, but gradually, softly, illuminating the idea that the Milky Way is not just a backdrop to life, but an ongoing process, one that has already included you, already shaped you, and may yet hold possibilities beyond the limits of what feels familiar today. From those lingering questions, let your thoughts begin to drift outward, slowly and without effort, as if carried by a quiet current, moving from the familiar ground beneath your feet to the open sky above, where the Milky Way waits not as a sudden revelation, but as a gradual unfolding, because this galaxy has never rushed anything into existence. Long before the first stories were told on Earth, long before anyone wondered what lies beyond a lifetime, the Milky Way was already there, shaping itself out of vast clouds of gas and dust, drawing matter together with patience measured not in years, but in eons. And as you imagine this transition, it may help to picture the night sky not as empty space, but as a deep, layered presence, where distance is not absence, but accumulation, where every direction you look holds history stacked gently upon history. Begin close to home, with Earth turning quietly in space, unaware of our worries or calendars, rotating at the same steady pace it has kept for billions of years, carrying oceans, continents, and every living thing along for the ride. And then allow your awareness to move just a little farther, past the thin veil of atmosphere into the darkness beyond, where the moon continues its familiar path, circling without concern for how often it has been admired or ignored. Beyond the moon lies the wider neighborhood of the solar system, where planets trace graceful, predictable arcs around the sun, each one moving according to simple rules that have never required supervision. And even here, the scale begins to stretch the imagination, because light itself takes hours to cross this small region of space, reminding you that distance is not something crossed quickly, but something experienced gradually. Now let that perspective expand further as the sun itself becomes just another point of light among countless others, one star within a broad, slowly rotating disk carried along by the collective motion of the Milky Way. And notice how this shift does not diminish the importance of Earth or of your own experiences, but places them within a larger rhythm, one that does not demand constant attention in order to continue. The Milky Way emerges not all at once, but piece by piece, a vast spiral structure composed of several sweeping arms, each one filled with stars at different stages of their lives, some newly ignited and brilliant, some long settled and steady, and some nearing the end of their luminous journeys, all of them moving together around a dense, mysterious center that anchors the entire galaxy. This center, hidden behind thick clouds of dust from our vantage point, contains a supermassive black hole, not as a threat, not as a devourer of everything around it, but as a quiet gravitational presence holding the galaxy together much like an unseen heart, its influence felt far beyond its immediate surroundings, reminding us that not everything essential needs to be visible. As your mind settles into this broader view, consider how gentle this expansion truly is. There is no sudden leap from Earth to galaxy, only a series of natural steps, each one building upon the last, as if the universe itself prefers smooth transitions over abrupt endings. The Milky Way did not appear fully formed. It grew, merged with smaller galaxies, absorbed streams of stars, and reorganized itself over billions of years. And in doing so, it demonstrates a truth that often goes unnoticed, that continuity does not require permanence, and that change does not require loss. Stars drift, orbits shift, structures evolve, and yet the galaxy remains recognizable, stable enough to host life for immense spans of time, offering a sense of reliability that contrasts gently with the rapid pace of human affairs. Imagine now the Milky Way as it would appear from far outside, its spiral arms glowing softly, not sharply defined, but feathered with clusters of stars and nebulae, regions where new suns are still being born from the remnants of older ones. And notice how this image carries both familiarity and strangeness. It is orderly, governed by gravity and motion, yet endlessly varied, filled with pockets of unpredictability where planets form in countless configurations. This is not a static backdrop, but an ongoing process, one that has room for countless worlds to exist simultaneously, each with its own sky, its own rhythms, its own sense of what is normal and what is mysterious. And somewhere within this immense structure, our solar system moves quietly along, completing a single orbit around the galactic center roughly every 230 million years, meaning that since the earliest dinosaurs walked the Earth, the Sun has not yet completed even one full lap. A reminder that what feels like deep history to us is only a small segment of the galaxy's story. As this transition continues, notice how the idea of moving outward into the cosmos does not create distance from meaning, but rather reframes it. Meaning no longer needs to be defended against time or change, because time itself becomes part of the structure that supports it. The Milky Way has endured through events far more dramatic than anything a single lifetime can contain, and yet it remains, not unchanged, but continuous, its identity preserved through transformation. And perhaps that continuity offers a subtle reassurance that being part of something vast does not make one invisible, but woven in, carried along by motions that do not forget where they have been. Now, resting within this expanded perspective, allow the Milky Way to remain present as a quiet background, a constant sweep of stars and space that does not demand interpretation, only acknowledgement. The transition is complete not because you have arrived at a destination, but because your sense of scale has gently widened, making room for the idea that existence extends far beyond immediate concerns, that time can be both fleeting and abundant, and that the universe has always provided space for questions to exist without pressure for answers. Here, within the calm rotation of the galaxy, there is no urgency, no expectation, only the steady continuation of motion, inviting you to remain curious, open, and unhurried as the story slowly deepens. As the Milky Way settles into your awareness, allow it to become less an object you are thinking about and more a presence you are quietly surrounded by. Because this galaxy does not announce itself with urgency or demand understanding, it simply exists, vast and steady, offering a kind of comfort that comes not from closeness, but from reliability, from the knowledge that something unimaginably large has been unfolding calmly for billions of years without ever losing its balance. The Milky Way is old beyond any familiar measure of time, forming more than 13 billion years ago. Yet age here does not mean fragility or decline, because in the cosmos, age often brings stability, rhythm, and an almost gentle confidence. Stars are born, live out their long, luminous lives, and eventually change form. But the galaxy itself absorbs these changes seamlessly, recycling matter, redistributing energy, and continuing forward without interruption. There is something deeply reassuring in this, because it suggests that nothing is ever truly wasted, that every phase of existence contributes to the larger whole, even when it no longer looks the way it once did. Imagine the Milky Way not as a crowded place, but as a spacious one, where stars are separated by such vast distances that even light takes years to travel between neighbors, creating an environment that is surprisingly quiet, surprisingly calm. Despite containing hundreds of billions of stars, the galaxy is mostly open space, and that openness allows motion to be smooth rather than chaotic, predictable rather than violent. Each star follows its path, guided by gravity, rarely disturbed, rarely interrupted, and in this orderly motion there is a kind of cosmic courtesy, a sense that everything has room to be where it is without being pushed aside. This is not a universe that crowds or overwhelms. It expands, it accommodates, it makes space. As your thoughts rest here, notice how the Milky Way does not judge speed or productivity. Stars do not compete, planets do not rush to complete their orbits, and galaxies do not hurry toward their futures. Everything unfolds according to its own natural timing, measured in millions and billions of years, a pace so slow that it transforms urgency into patience. When you compare this to the constant pressure of human time with its schedules and expectations, the galaxy offers a quiet contrast, a reminder that existence itself does not require constant motion to remain meaningful. Simply continuing, simply being part of the flow has always been enough. Within this comforting vastness, consider how the Milky Way holds countless environments simultaneously, remembering none of them individually, yet losing none of them either. There are regions near the galactic center where stars orbit quickly, packed more closely together, bathed in dense clouds of gas and dust, and farther out, regions like our own, where stars drift more slowly, where space opens wide and calm dominates. This variety exists without conflict, each region contributing to the whole, suggesting that there is no single correct way to exist within a system this large. Difference is not only allowed, it is essential. The galaxy thrives not because everything is the same, but because everything has room to be what it is. As the Milky Way continues its slow rotation, carrying entire star systems along like leaves on an enormous invisible current, it quietly demonstrates something profound, that continuity does not require sameness. The galaxy you see today is not identical to the one that existed billions of years ago, yet it remains recognizably itself, its identity preserved through gradual change rather than rigid permanence. This kind of continuity feels gentle, forgiving even, because it allows for transformation without erasure, for movement without loss. And if a structure as vast as a galaxy can change so much while still remaining whole, then perhaps change on a smaller scale does not need to feel like disappearance either. There is comfort, too, in the way the Milky Way holds time. Light from distant stars arrives slowly, evenly, indifferent to human urgency, meaning that every night sky is a blend of moments scattered across vast stretches of history. When you look at the galaxy, you are seeing not a single instant, but a tapestry of different eras woven together. Ancient starlight sharing space with light emitted relatively recently, all arriving together peacefully. This coexistence of times softens the idea that the present must dominate or replace the past. Instead, the past remains visible, contributing quietly to what is seen now. In this way, the galaxy becomes a living archive, not frozen, not nostalgic, but integrative, allowing different moments to share the same space without conflict. Let your awareness drift through one of the Milky Way's spiral arms, where clouds of gas glow faintly, illuminated by nearby stars, forming nebulae that serve as nurseries for new suns. These regions are not hurried. Star formation takes millions of years, unfolding gradually as gravity gathers material, compresses it, warms it, and eventually ignites nuclear fusion at a star's core. There is no rush to complete this process, no expectation to meet a deadline. Creation happens when conditions align, and until then, the material simply waits. This patience feels deeply comforting because it suggests that readiness matters more than speed, that nothing is forced into existence before it is prepared to sustain itself. As stars age, they too change slowly, swelling, cooling, shedding material back into space, enriching the galaxy with heavier elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, the very substances needed to form planets and eventually living beings capable of reflection and curiosity. In this way, the Milky Way quietly supports continuity across generations of stars, allowing one phase to nourish the next without drama. There is something almost nurturing in this cycle, as if the galaxy itself understands that survival depends not on holding on tightly, but on letting go gracefully, trusting that what is released will find new expression elsewhere. Within this vast, patient structure, our own sun moves calmly, completing a single orbit around the galactic center every few 100 million years, a pace so slow that it makes human lifetimes feel like brief glimmers. And yet, during those brief glimmers, entire civilizations rise, question their place in the universe, and leave traces of their curiosity behind. The Milky Way accommodates all of this effortlessly, not because it diminishes the importance of individual lives, but because it has the capacity to hold many layers of significance at once. A moment can be fleeting and meaningful at the same time. A life can be brief and fully real. As this sense of comforting vastness settles in, notice how fear begins to soften, not because uncertainty disappears, but because it becomes less threatening when placed within a larger context. The Milky Way has persisted through supernovae, through galactic collisions, through the slow aging of countless stars, and it continues, stable enough to foster new beginnings again and again. Against this backdrop, change no longer feels like an enemy, but like a fundamental aspect of endurance. The galaxy does not survive by resisting change, it survives by integrating it. Allow yourself to rest in the idea that the universe does not require constant attention to remain intact, that it does not collapse when ignored, and that it does not abandon what it carries simply because time passes. The Milky Way has been quietly holding together for billions of years, its gravity binding stars and planets into a coherent whole, offering a subtle reassurance that connection does not always need to be visible or immediate to be real. Even when separated by enormous distances, everything within the galaxy remains part of the same system, influenced by the same underlying forces. In this comforting vastness, the questions you began with do not disappear, but they become softer, more contemplative, less urgent. Wonder replaces worry, curiosity replaces fear, and the idea of continuity begins to feel natural rather than speculative. The Milky Way does not promise answers, but it offers perspective, and sometimes perspective is enough to ease the mind, to remind it that existence is larger, slower, and more patient than any single moment can reveal. Here, within the steady sweep of stars and space, there is room to simply be, held gently within a structure that has always known how to continue. Just as the comforting vastness of the Milky Way begins to feel familiar, there is a subtle shift, a quiet reminder that beneath this calm lies something profoundly mysterious. Because the same galaxy that feels stable and patient is also shaped by forces that bend reality itself in ways we do not fully understand. At the very center of the Milky Way, hidden behind thick curtains of dust and gas, lies a supermassive black hole, millions of times more massive than our sun. And while the word itself can stir unease, this presence is not a monster waiting to consume the galaxy, but a silent anchor influencing the motion of stars without ever announcing itself. Its gravity shapes orbits across vast distances, guiding stars along paths they have followed for billions of years, and yet it remains invisible, known only through its effects, a reminder that some of the most powerful influences in the universe are those we cannot see. This idea can feel unsettling at first, that something unseen could hold such sway, but it also carries a quiet sense of wonder because it suggests that reality is deeper than appearances, layered with structures and influences that operate calmly beneath the surface. The Milky Way continues to rotate, stars continue to shine, and planets continue their orbits, all while this central presence quietly does its work, never rushing, never demanding attention. And if something so immense can exist without disruption, then perhaps mystery itself does not have to be threatening. Perhaps it can be part of the natural balance of things. As your thoughts linger here, consider how time behaves differently across the galaxy, how motion and gravity subtly stretch and compress it, creating regions where clocks would tick at slightly different rates. Near massive objects, time slows, not dramatically in a way that would be noticed day to day, but enough to remind us that time is not a single, rigid flow shared equally by all things. This realization can bring a gentle unease because it challenges the idea of a universal pace, but it also opens the door to a deeper curiosity. If time itself is flexible, then what we experience as an ending may not be as absolute as it appears. What feels final from one perspective might look more like a pause, a curve, or a continuation from another. Light, too, behaves strangely in the Milky Way. It can be bent, delayed, or scattered by massive objects and dense clouds, meaning that what we see is not always a direct reflection of what is happening now, but a delayed echo of events long past. When you look toward the dense regions of the galaxy, much of what lies there is hidden, not because it is gone, but because it is obscured, waiting for the right tools or the right angle to be revealed. This concealment can stir a soft sense of unease, the feeling that there is more happening than we are aware of, but it also invites imagination, encouraging the mind to accept that not knowing everything does not mean nothing is there. Within the spiral arms, stars occasionally end their lives in powerful explosions, briefly outshining entire regions of the galaxy before fading, leaving behind dense remnants, neutron stars or black holes that continue to influence their surroundings long after the visible light is gone. These events are rare on human timescales, yet inevitable on cosmic ones, and they introduce a quiet tension into the story of the Milky Way. Creation and destruction are intertwined, inseparable, part of the same long process. This can feel unsettling because it confronts the idea of permanence, but it also reinforces a deeper truth, that endings feed beginnings, that nothing truly vanishes, but instead changes form and function within the larger system. As this awareness deepens, a question naturally arises, one that gently rehooks the mind just as it begins to drift. If the galaxy can carry so many hidden processes at once, unseen gravity, flexible time, delayed light, invisible remnants, then how much of existence is unfolding beyond immediate perception? And if so much lies just out of view, could awareness itself continue in ways that are not obvious, not directly observable, yet still fully real? This question does not demand an answer. It simply opens a space of curiosity, a place where fear and wonder overlap, where uncertainty becomes something to explore rather than something to escape. The Milky Way does not shield its inhabitants from change or mystery, but it does contextualize them, placing them within a framework so vast that no single event dominates the whole. Even the most dramatic cosmic occurrences become part of a larger rhythm, absorbed into the ongoing motion of the galaxy without disrupting its continuity. This perspective can feel both humbling and strangely reassuring because it suggests that even forces beyond understanding have their place, their role, their boundaries. Allow this soft tension to remain without resolving it, like a distant rumble that never becomes a storm, because it is precisely this balance between calm and mystery, between stability and the unknown, that keeps the mind engaged without overwhelming it. The Milky Way is not a place of constant serenity nor constant danger. It is a place where both coexist naturally, where comfort and unease are woven together into a steady, enduring structure. And as you rest within this balance, curiosity stays awake, gently alert, ready to follow the story deeper, while the galaxy continues its slow, silent sweep, holding both what is known and what remains hidden in equal measure. As the quiet mystery of the Milky Way lingers, the mind naturally turns inward, not abruptly, but gently, as if the galaxy itself is inviting a deeper reflection, one that is less about distant stars and more about what it means to exist within such an immense structure. Because when you realize that everything you have ever known has unfolded inside this single, slowly turning galaxy, questions of identity begin to feel different, softer, less confined to names, roles, or moments in time. The Milky Way does not recognize individuals in the way humans do, and yet it contains the physical traces of every life that has ever looked up at it, every thought that ever wondered about meaning, every breath drawn under its stars. And in this way, identity becomes less about separation and more about participation, about being part of a continuous process rather than a standalone event. The atoms that make up your body were once scattered across ancient stellar explosions, drifting through interstellar space for millions of years before becoming part of this planet, this life, this awareness. And long after familiar forms change, those same atoms will continue their journey, participating in new configurations, new stories, new possibilities that do not erase what came before, but quietly build upon it. Within the Milky Way, nothing truly exists in isolation. Stars influence one another through gravity, galaxies grow by merging with smaller companions, and even the most solitary-looking objects remain connected to the larger structure through invisible forces that never switch off. In much the same way, a life may feel self-contained when viewed up close, defined by personal memories and experiences, yet from a wider perspective, it becomes part of a much larger pattern, one that includes ancestors, environments, shared histories, and the slow accumulation of knowledge and curiosity passed from one generation to the next. This broader view can be unexpectedly comforting because it suggests that legacy does not depend on recognition or permanence in the usual sense. It exists simply by having participated, by having been present within the flow of events that shape the galaxy over time. As the Milky Way continues its slow rotation, carrying entire star systems along paths that take hundreds of millions of years to complete, it demonstrates a kind of continuity that does not rely on memory in the human sense. The galaxy does not remember individual stars, and yet their influence remains, woven into the distribution of matter, the enrichment of elements, the gravitational balance that allows future stars and planets to form. In this way, contribution does not require recollection to remain real. It only requires having occurred. And if that is true on a cosmic scale, then perhaps the value of a life is not diminished by the passage of time or by the world moving on, because the effects of existence do not vanish simply because they are no longer actively observed. This reflection naturally raises a quiet, persistent question. If the Milky Way can integrate countless changes without losing coherence, then what does it mean for awareness itself to change form? Consciousness arises from matter arranged in a particular way, sustained by energy, chemistry, and structure, and when those arrangements shift, the familiar experience of being a self may also shift. Yet the underlying components, the matter, the energy, the capacity for organization, remain part of the galaxy's ongoing cycle. Could awareness be less like a flame that is extinguished and more like a pattern that dissolves and reappears elsewhere, shaped by new conditions, carrying no memory perhaps, but continuing the universe's long experiment with experience? The Milky Way does not answer this question, but it provides a context in which it feels less unsettling, because within a system where nothing is truly static, continuity does not require sameness. A river remains the same river even as its water constantly changes, and the galaxy remains the Milky Way even as its stars are born, age, and fade. Identity, seen this way, becomes something broader and more flexible, less tied to a single moment or form, and more aligned with participation in a larger process. This perspective can gently ease the fear of being replaced or forgotten, because it reframes movement not as abandonment, but as progression, as the natural unfolding of a system that has always included change as part of its structure. There is also a subtle reassurance in recognizing that the Milky Way has hosted countless forms of life already, from simple beginnings on Earth to complex awareness capable of wondering about its own place in the universe. And if life has emerged at least once within this galaxy, shaped by its conditions, then the galaxy itself becomes a kind of cradle, a place where experience is not an anomaly, but a recurring possibility. This does not guarantee repetition in any specific way, but it does suggest that awareness is something the universe is capable of producing again and again under the right circumstances without exhausting itself or losing interest. As these thoughts unfold, legacy begins to feel less like something that must be secured and more like something that naturally exists, woven quietly into the fabric of the galaxy. Every action, every relationship, every moment of curiosity contributes in subtle ways to the larger flow, influencing others, shaping environments, and adding to the collective conditions from which future experiences will arise. This influence does not need to be dramatic or widely recognized to be real. In a system as vast as the Milky Way, even small perturbations matter. Even gentle contributions alter trajectories over long periods of time. Resting within this reflection, the idea of being left behind loses some of its weight because the Milky Way itself does not leave anything behind. It carries everything forward, transformed but included. Stars that no longer shine still shape the galaxy through their remnants, and moments that have passed still shape the present through their consequences. In this way, existence does not end abruptly. It diffuses, it integrates, it becomes part of a wider continuity that does not require constant affirmation to remain intact. Let this understanding settle quietly, without forcing conclusions, because the purpose here is not to define what comes next, but to recognize that the galaxy offers a framework in which continuation feels plausible, even natural. The Milky Way holds identity not as something fragile, but as something adaptable, capable of shifting scale and form without losing its place within the whole. And as the stars continue their steady motion, the reflection remains open, spacious enough to hold uncertainty alongside comfort, allowing the mind to remain curious, grounded, and gently engaged as the story moves onward. Just as the reflections begin to feel settled, a deeper layer of mystery quietly emerges, one that pulls attention back outward again, because the Milky Way, for all its familiarity, still contains questions so profound that even modern understanding can only circle them without fully entering. Beneath the calm rotation of its spiral arms lies a hidden framework composed largely of something that cannot be seen at all, an unseen substance that outweighs everything visible, dark matter, shaping the galaxy's structure through gravity alone, binding stars and gas into patterns that would otherwise drift apart. This invisible presence does not emit light, does not interact with ordinary matter in familiar ways, and yet without it, the Milky Way as we know it could not exist. The idea that most of the galaxy is made of something undetectable introduces a soft, persistent wonder because it suggests that reality is dominated not by what is obvious, but by what is hidden. This realization can feel quietly unsettling. If the majority of the galaxy is invisible, then what we perceive is only a small fraction of what is truly there. And yet there is also a strange comfort in this, because it means that absence does not equal emptiness, and invisibility does not mean non-existence. The Milky Way remains stable not because everything about it is understood, but because underlying structures continue to function regardless of observation. This invites a rehook of curiosity. What other aspects of existence operate just beyond perception, influencing outcomes without ever announcing themselves? As your thoughts move through this unseen scaffolding of the galaxy, consider how little we truly know about its earliest moments. The Milky Way formed from immense clouds of matter shortly after the universe itself emerged, growing through mergers with smaller galaxies, absorbing their stars and reshaping its own structure in the process. Traces of these ancient encounters still drift through the galaxy today as faint streams of stars, remnants of long-consumed systems, silently orbiting within the larger whole. These stellar streams are like memories without storytellers, evidence of events so old that no observer remains to recall them directly, and yet their presence is undeniable, etched into the galaxy's motion. This raises another quiet question. If the galaxy can carry such ancient history without awareness, then what does awareness itself depend on? Is it something that must be continuously experienced to exist, or can it leave behind patterns that persist even after the experience itself has changed form? The Milky Way suggests that continuity does not require consciousness to oversee it. Structures endure simply because the laws governing them remain in place. And if that is so, then perhaps existence itself is more resilient than it appears, capable of persisting through transitions that feel like endings from a limited perspective. At the heart of the galaxy, the supermassive black hole continues its silent influence, surrounded by stars moving at incredible speeds, some so close that their orbits take only years to complete. These stars experience gravity so intense that time itself passes differently for them, subtly slowing compared to regions farther out. This bending of time is not dramatic enough to be felt directly, but it is real, measurable, and constant, a reminder that time is not a universal backdrop, but a dynamic participant in the structure of the cosmos. This introduces a profound mystery. If time can stretch and compress, then the sequence of events is not as fixed as it seems, and what feels like before and after may depend on where you are and how you move through space. Such thoughts naturally reawaken curiosity because they suggest that the universe does not operate on a single narrative timeline, but on many overlapping ones, each shaped by motion, gravity, and perspective. Within the Milky Way, countless timelines coexist, intersecting without conflict, allowing different regions to experience the universe at subtly different rates. And if time itself is flexible, then perhaps the way we think about continuity, endings, and persistence could also be more flexible than it appears. Beyond these known mysteries lie others still untouched, questions about whether the galaxy hosts other forms of life capable of reflection, whether awareness has arisen independently on distant worlds, and whether those beings, if they exist, ponder the same uncertainties while gazing at their own skies. Signals from distant stars and planets travel for thousands of years before reaching us, meaning that even if communication were possible, it would be delayed, stretched across generations, transforming conversation into a kind of cosmic echo. This delay reinforces the idea that the universe does not prioritize immediacy. It favors endurance, patience, and long arcs of connection. The Milky Way then becomes not just a collection of stars, but a layered mystery, one that continuously invites attention back just as it begins to drift, offering unanswered questions that feel less like problems and more like open doors. What holds the galaxy together? How does time truly behave within it? How many worlds share its space, quietly existing without ever being known? These questions do not disturb the calm, they enrich it, adding depth without urgency, ensuring that curiosity remains gently awake even as the body and mind relax into the steady rhythm of the story. Allow these mysteries to hover without resolution, like distant lights seen through a veil, because their purpose is not to be solved here, but to sustain that delicate balance between comfort and wonder. The Milky Way thrives within this balance, stable yet incomplete in our understanding, familiar yet endlessly surprising. And as these unanswered questions settle into the background, they keep the story alive, quietly inviting the listener to remain present, attentive, and open as the galaxy continues its slow, silent sweep through space and time. As the deeper mysteries of the Milky Way gently recede into the background, the sense of scale begins to soften, not by shrinking the galaxy, but by allowing the mind to drift outward until individual details blur into a wider, calmer awareness, where sharp questions lose their edges and everything begins to feel part of one continuous motion. The spiral arms that once seemed distinct now blend into a smooth, glowing structure, and the countless stars within them merge into a quiet, luminous haze, reminding you that distance does not erase reality, it simply changes how it is perceived. From this vantage, the Milky Way feels less like a collection of separate objects and more like a single, slowly breathing presence, expanding and rotating with a patience that never wavers. Let your awareness move even farther back until the galaxy becomes a soft band of light suspended in darkness, its individual stories no longer competing for attention, its complexities settling into a sense of coherence that does not require analysis. Here, motion is no longer something to track. It is simply assumed, as natural and unobtrusive as the passing of a thought. Time, too, begins to lose its familiar structure, stretching into a broad continuum where past, present, and future feel less like separate compartments and more like different textures woven into the same fabric. In this space, urgency fades, replaced by a quiet acceptance that things unfold as they must, without haste, without resistance. As the Milky Way drifts into this softened perspective, Earth becomes just another subtle presence within it, not singled out, not diminished, but gently included, its entire history compressed into a faint suggestion of activity along one of the galaxy's many arms. From here, individual lives are no longer isolated events, but moments within a long, uninterrupted flow, each one contributing briefly and then dissolving back into the larger movement without disruption. This does not make those lives meaningless. It places them within a context where meaning does not depend on permanence or recognition, but on participation in the ongoing rhythm. Notice how this wider view brings with it a sense of ease because it removes the need to hold on to specific outcomes or narratives. The Milky Way does not move toward a goal in the human sense. It simply continues, shaped by gravity, energy, and time, adjusting as conditions change. There is no final destination toward which everything strains, no moment when the story abruptly stops. Instead, there is a steady unfolding, one that allows beginnings and endings to coexist without conflict, each feeding into the next with quiet consistency. As details dissolve, what remains is a feeling rather than a picture, a sense of being carried along within something vast and stable, something that does not require constant attention to remain intact. The galaxy's rotation becomes a kind of background rhythm, like a distant tide that can be sensed even when it is not directly observed. This rhythm does not intrude, it supports, offering a subtle assurance that continuity is the natural state of things, and that change occurs within that continuity rather than against it. Allow the mind to rest here, where curiosity no longer pushes forward, but drifts gently, content to exist without needing to know what comes next. In this softened perspective, fear loses its urgency, excitement becomes calm anticipation, and questions remain open without demanding resolution. The Milky Way, now a quiet presence rather than a subject of focus, continues its sweep through space, holding countless possibilities within its structure without ever insisting that any one of them be grasped or understood. As this sense of dissolution deepens, the boundaries between observer and galaxy begin to feel less rigid, not in a literal sense, but in the way that awareness no longer feels separate from the larger flow. Thoughts arise and fade much like stars emerging from and returning to the luminous band, each one momentarily distinct before blending back into the whole. In this state, there is no pressure to hold on to clarity or definition. Ambiguity becomes comfortable, even soothing, because it mirrors the way the universe itself operates, favoring continuity over sharp distinctions. Let the Milky Way remain in this softened form, a gentle sweep of light and motion that does not demand attention but offers presence, a reminder that existence does not need to be tightly grasped to be meaningful. Here, perspective dissolves not into emptiness, but into spaciousness, a quiet openness where everything that has been considered, comfort, mystery, identity, and continuity, rests together without conflict. The story does not end, it simply becomes wider, quieter, and less defined, allowing the listener to drift within it as the galaxy continues its patient, unbroken motion. And now, without signaling a conclusion, allow everything to simply continue, because the Milky Way has never marked its moments with clear beginnings or endings, only with ongoing motion that does not pause to announce itself. The galaxy keeps turning, slowly and steadily, its stars tracing paths they have followed for longer than memory, longer than language, longer than any story ever told on Earth. And in this continuation, there is no demand for attention, no need to hold on to any single thought or image. The sweep of the Milky Way remains, not as something to analyze, but as a gentle presence, like a distant current that can be felt even when it is not seen. Somewhere within that vast structure, stars are still forming quietly inside dark clouds, while others are aging, changing, releasing their material back into space. And none of this requires observation to remain real. It happens whether or not anyone is watching, whether or not anyone is wondering about it, and that quiet independence carries a subtle reassurance that existence does not depend on constant effort or awareness to continue. The galaxy does not ask to be remembered, and yet it remembers everything in its own way, through motion, through structure, through the unbroken chain of cause and effect that links every moment to the next. The Milky Way drifts on, carrying worlds that will never know of one another, each with its own skies, its own rhythms, its own unfolding stories. And somewhere among them, awareness arises again and again, briefly illuminating parts of the galaxy with curiosity before settling back into the larger flow. There is no urgency in this process, no pressure for repetition or finality. The universe is content to explore possibilities slowly, patiently, allowing experience to emerge wherever conditions allow, then change form without resistance. As thoughts become fewer and more spaced, the sense of being held within something vast remains, even as specific ideas fade. The galaxy does not disappear when it slips from focus, it continues, just as it always has, its presence constant, whether it is actively considered or not. This continuity does not need explanation or reassurance. It simply exists, offering a steady backdrop against which moments come and go without disruption. Light continues to travel across the Milky Way, crossing immense distances without hurry, carrying quiet messages from stars that may no longer look the way they once did, yet still contribute to the glow that stretches across the sky. That light arrives softly, night after night, indifferent to change, blending past and present into a single ongoing experience. In this way, time itself seems to relax, losing its sharp divisions, becoming more like a gentle slope than a series of steps. Nothing needs to be resolved here, because the universe does not resolve itself into neat conclusions. It simply unfolds, allowing each phase to give way naturally to the next. The Milky Way remains open, unfinished, continuously becoming, and within that openness there is room for uncertainty, curiosity, memory, and quiet acceptance to coexist without tension. The idea of continuation no longer feels like a question to answer, but like a condition that has always been present. So the story does not stop, it thins out, like starlight fading gradually toward the horizon, still there, still traveling, just less distinct. The galaxy continues its slow sweep, the stars continue their patient motion, and awareness, wherever it arises, becomes part of that same movement, carried gently forward without needing to know where it leads. And within this steady, unbroken continuation, everything that has been considered simply rests, held quietly within the vast, ongoing presence of the Milky Way.